this life's all about. Threw my virtues to the ground, drinking from the devil's cup. Take that pill, drink it down, flashing lights all around. High as hell, drunk like finally don't give a fuck. 'Cause I'm breaking all the rules tonight. Not going down without a fight. As long as I'm still breathing, doesn't matter how hard you might try. We can take this freedom.
Hey everybody, happy Friday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now this is our weekly live stream where we just talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. It's where we get a chance to just shoot the bull, talk about app developer stuff, answer some questions, and I've done hardly any preparation coming into this. In fact, it's always like 10 minutes before the live stream where I think, oh my god, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. What if there are no questions that I don't know what to talk about? That was the thing. When I first started, I was most terrified about. First of all, I was terrified that nobody would show up. And then second was like I wouldn't have anything to talk about if they did. Or you guys would catch me out not knowing something. But you guys catch me out not knowing stuff all the time. So first of all, I hope you guys can hear me okay. I just want to say Azimuth PH is the first person here. Rifat is here. Hey Rifat, how's it going? I guess I'll talk to you on Sunday. WFH today. What does WFH mean? What does WFH mean? Cord Funk, hey, how's it going? Yo, Cord Funk. Walk the Talk, how are you? Let's see, Walk the Talk. Hello, Martian Developer. Martian Developer, take me to your leader. How are you? Do you know what? It's always funny that we still talk about Martians, and I have to use that voice probably because I grew up watching cartoons in the 80s, which were reruns from the 60s and 70s. And that's still funny to me, but I guess kids today won't know what that is. I thought I was first. If I says Azimuth beat me by a message. Let's see, Flutter Buddy. Hey Eric. Hey Flutter Buddy, how's it going? Let's walk the talk. First question: since AppAds.txt is implemented, my revenue decreased about 50% to 30%. Does implementing AppAds.txt increase revenue too? Wait, so. Walk the talk. Have you actually implemented it or have you not? Because I think mine is about the same. It's difficult for me to know because actually I can tell. I'm gonna have a look, but I can't show you guys my AdMob because it's secret. But I'm gonna have a look at mine because I haven't checked mine really this week. I mean, it's in the daily revenue report that my team does, but it's been consistent. It's always consistently the same. It's like I only look at the dollar figure. Sorry, the pound figure. And it's always about between 28 to 32. It's like it's such a, whereas before it was like 85 to 100. Now it's like, since my era agent got removed. But no, mine is about the same. Let me just check the, so I'm going to check my RPMs go to reports. And I would love to show you guys my AdMob. I'd love to show it, not because it's impressive, just because it's instructional. Like, it's not really great right now since my big app has been removed. But I still have a few big apps that seem to be doing pretty well. But yeah, my RPMs have dropped. Oh, actually not much. Hang on, let me look at the last. I'm looking at I'm looking at the wrong date range. Let's look at the last 30 days. Sorry, I know you guys can't see what I'm looking at. I know this is boring, me reading things, especially when you notice when I read, my lips move. Yeah, my RPMs have actually been consistent. They've been normal. Well, actually, no. No, they've been consistent. Mine haven't changed. So yeah. Yeah, walk the talk. Mine has been the same, but I mean, I implemented AppAds.txt. So are you saying you didn't implement it and then you noticed a drop, or you have implemented it and you noticed a drop? Fist007, hey, how's it going? Bizwajit is here also. Hey Eric, please check out my gameplay in Play Store, Dark Space Legends. Thanks. You mean check out the gameplay? You mean actually download it and use it? One of the things I have real issues with, and I know is like when I do demo, a lot of times I'll do video demos for clients, and I'll share my screen, or I'll show my device. But it's so much easier for me to do it on an iOS device using QuickTime, or just to record it that way than it is in Android. Because for some reason I have such trouble recording, like casting the Android to my MacBook or to whatever to record it, to record the screen. I know there are devices that do, but I like to do it where I could record the voiceover. Like this would be an example where I would love to connect to it with an Android device, and I haven't been able to. So let's go. So we're gonna look for Dark Space Legends. Let me share my screen. So we're looking at this one for Biswajit. Hopefully you guys can see my screen okay. And we've got Dark Space Legends. Cool. All right. It looks like it's been improving gradually each time we look at it. Let's have a look at it. I want to see the video, because I know this has got to have cool background music in it. Biswajit. It better not be strummy guitar music, because that's my jing 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 jing. All right, let's go. Let's watch the video here. Made with Unity. I don't think you should put the Made with Unity on the video. You should let's get some like basic editing software. Because you can do Windows Movie Maker and just crop that part out. Cool. Is it just continuous gameplay? I mean, let's have a. What I'd like to do. Let's have a look and see if we can see the. Oh, they used to have the YouTube link on here. Let's be developers about this. And actually, I want to see the YouTube video. I want to see how many views it's had, because that will give us a good idea how many people are actually seeing that. Well, I mean, it'll tell us how many people are seeing that video. Where is it? Oh, forget it. But I mean, it's a good video. But I think maybe having a bit more to it. I think the gameplay looks really cool. But I mean, if you go from like get some basic image editing software, have like the first section, and then like have some of this text on like title screens in between, and go to a later section and show different parts of it. Because after watching that for like 10 seconds, you kind of know what the game does. And if you go to like the later levels, if they're different, because I can see that you've got lots of different terrains and stuff here that you could do. But it depends. I would like to see the video, how many people are actually watching that. So let's see. We also have Prithvi, how's it going? 5 dislikes already. Wait a second. There's 5 dislikes on this channel, on this video already. What was it? Is it because I'm sweating profusely? Why is there downvotes? Don't worry, there's always downvotes. Every time I do a video, there's like at least a couple people downvotes. And it used to bother me a lot. And to be honest with you, it still kind of does. Like I could have like 30 likes on a video and 2 dislikes, and I think, why didn't they like me? But I think probably just some people just don't like me. It's the, I don't know what it is. But, actually I'm not going to dwell in that, because then I'll get all depressed. I'll get all down. But yeah, so I can't see how many likes or dislikes we have actually, which is good. Flutter Buddy, at what subscriber count did you start doing live videos? I started doing it, I guess it was like 9,000 subscribers. And it was because I went to a YouTube event, and the channel started like really pick up, and I was getting like a lot of subscribers, like just all of a sudden. And I got one of these emails from YouTube saying they have this consultancy service where you can go out and actually get a consultant, and or they'll sit down with you and go through it. And AdMob has done it too. So like, and a lot of times these emails will go to your spam folder. So like check, like I remember getting once a consultant with AdMob, and he just was like, I got 20 minutes time slot. And then he went through with me all my AdMob stuff, told me I wasn't serving enough ads, I should do more interstitials, that kind of stuff. But the only reason I found it was because I happened to look into my spam folder. The same with the YouTube. They basically sent something out, and I responded to it, and she said you should do live streams, and that was something that really terrified me, because I thought you know, the nice thing about just recording the videos each day is because I only have to talk about the stuff I know about. Like if somebody asks me about something like Unity ads that I've never used, I don't have to say I don't know how to use that. But on the live stream, I'm saying I've never used that all the time. So I think I've just gotten used to it. Like I said, it's just a developer conversation. So let's see, Chord Funk. Yo, Eric, do you know any good programming jokes? Oh God. I think programming jokes. I think I saw like a comic strip. I think one of my kids showed me a comic strip where somebody's like two guys. One guy says, "Go get me a sandwich." He says, "No way." And he goes, "Pseudo, go get me a sandwich." And he says, "Oh, all right." But that's the only thing I can think of. Any programming jokes? No, I used to joke around a lot with developers, but it was more specific to what we were working on at the time. You know, like we talk about the peculiarities of certain languages and stuff. So I'm gonna turn my fan on. Let me know if it gets too windy on the microphone. I wasn't able to go to the gym this morning because I gave blood yesterday, so I went just now, and that means I'm sweating like crazy. Riffat says 8 to 5. Ionol Ipatoe says, do you use OpenGL ES for native 2D games? No, I don't. I still use Corona. So I think OpenGL, so my understanding, and to be honest with you, I have never even looked into it. I think it's more of a low-level thing, right? It's I was using Corona earlier today, and I've tried to do a little bit with Unity. I've done stuff in Impact.js on the JavaScript side. I've done a little bit of playing around with Construct, and what's the other one? The Photon? Phaser.io. Is it Phaser.io or Photon.io? I took a course on that on Udemy, and I thought I would do everything, but once I ported it to the mobile framework, or to I was actually using a Cordova wrapper around it, then it was just really poor performance on it, so I just sort of stuck with Corona. So anyway, BizYG, everybody smash that like button. Yeah, that's right, bro. We are going to start our alpha. See, just got back from the gym. We are going to start our next week. I think we'll start our alpha male channel. We'll start the transition. We'll go from software developer, app developer to alpha male, and we're going to do like meal preps, stuff like that, testosterone building exercises, the normal stuff. We'll do that next week. We'll start that next week, not today. Let's see. Adam Major. Hey, Adam, how's it going? So Stephen Dew says, hey, everyone, I've been so excited for the stream this week. We have just realized version 2 of our app 3 months ago. It's called Radio Plus by Fresh Radio in the Apple App Store. So let's have a look at this, if you don't mind. If you don't mind, Stephen, let's have a quick look at this in. I don't have my iPad plugged in. Otherwise, we can have a look at it on the. So share my screen here. Radio Plus. Is it Love Radio Plus? Can't be this one, is it? No. Let's have a look. Fresh Radio. I might have to plug my iPad in so we can look at it on my screen. I've never been good at doing the web search on the App Store. Let's have a. Can you send the link to that one? Do you know what? Maybe we should have another channel, like another way for you guys to send links through, like a Slack channel or something, because the stream here seems to always remove those. Stephen Dew says, thanks to the person who suggested App Tweak and the other week. It has been wonders for our downloads. Oh, awesome. I've never used App Tweak. Mega Man 2016, 27th. Hey, Eric, how's it going? Did you actually count everybody? Harish Devanyagam says, which is better, subscription model or pay-as-you-go for my app? Subscription model, pay-as-you-go. They're the same, aren't they? Subscription and pay-as-you-go, they're not separate. I mean, because a subscription is pay-as-you-go as opposed to the one-off purchase or the consumable purchases. Jay Matthew, hey, how's it going, Jay? Abdul Jabbar, hey, how's it going? The Engine, got a like for me. Thank you, The Engine. I really appreciate it. Just take a hit on my confidence today. John Mullahan, yo, what's going on? Thumbs up. Eric, Rifat says, Eric, how do you manage deadlines with remote teams? This is something, Rifat, I've struggled with a lot. Like, I used to always think, the problem is you think all developers are going to be like you. If you're a software developer, you know how long something's going to take. You know when you have to get it done by. You know if you say, when is this going to be done? Once you commit to that date, you know that it's important to get that done, right? But when you're working with other people, sometimes they don't actually do that. So I've always been like, it used to be I would never ask like for the deadline, like when's that going to be done, or I'd ask and I get like a lame answer like soon, right? And now I kind of hold them to it. Now I don't tell them unless the client has some imposed thing like this has to be done by Wednesday. I could get this done by Wednesday, so it has to get done by Wednesday, right? I've always hated that. When I was a contractor, they would, because I was too expensive to work on a lot of the projects, we had an Indian team that was working on stuff, but the management would come to me to quote on things, right? Under the auspices, under, as if I was going to do the work. So I always thought I was going to do the work, so I would quote based on what I can do. They would give it to the developers, and the developers would take twice as long or 3 times as long because they didn't quite understand it. They weren't in the same meetings. So it took them longer, and it always bothered me. So I always get the developers to commit to a time, like when is this going to be done, right? And if they come back and say, we can finish this in the next 6 weeks, and I think that's ridiculous, then we'll have that conversation in the beginning, but it's up to them to commit to it. But then also we have to make sure that we have those weekly meetings. So I have daily meetings with the team, with my team, and then we have a daily summary that we were doing it daily, but now we do it once a week with the developers to say, is everything on track, right? And having that meeting in person rather than just say, like I used to just say, is everything on track? And they say, yes, everything's on track. And I was like, good enough for me, right? And then next thing you know, you're late on something. So it's asking those questions. How is this going to work? How is this working? When can I see something? Like, when can I see something, right? I need to see something. I need to see code checked in. I need to see something happening. And sometimes I'll ask a question so late in the project, it just scares you to death, right? You're like, whoa, wait a second. All these meetings we had, you're asking me this vital question to the project, right? So it's having that communication. And for me, it's just keep reminding them, okay, so so 2 days you're gonna have this done, right? So 1 day you're gonna have this done, right? So it's up to them. It's up to them to do it, right? And it helps if you have more work coming their way, right? And that's always one of the things that I think is a benefit to me is that I know that when I'm working with a developer, if I have more work that I could send their way, then it's up, then it makes sense for them to make sure that they do the best job they can and try to keep things going. And I also have to realize that if they did something wrong and they didn't understand what I said, unless I was completely clear, then I realize it's a communication issue on my side. Right, so and that's like having that early, just trying to get visibility as early as possible, right? Like, just check the code in, and the reason I want to check the code in frequently is not because I don't trust them. It's because I just want to see stuff done, right? I just want to see stuff that goes in. I want to see that they're thinking about stuff. I want to see some sort of progress. I want to see things are moving forward, and I want to see some sort of demo. And if they cannot do a demo, like send me a test flight build, then I want to see a video. I want to see a screen share. I want to see some way that they can demonstrate to me how something works, right? So I can at least see it from the front end. But ideally, I want to see the code. And working with remote teams, working with remote teams is just hard. And anybody who tells you otherwise hasn't done it before, or they're really good at it. And when I say remote teams, I don't mean like I don't mean like overseas where you have language barriers, you have time zone differences, you have lots of different issues where you can't just sit down at the same table, you can't get together in a room, you can't do a screen share. So like if I had a developer in the UK someplace, I don't think I would have the same kind of issues because we don't have time zone constraints. We could get together if we need to. We could use the Zoom. We don't have any really slow internet connections or anything like that. But when you're working with other developers, it's like you can't see them, then it's difficult. The ideal, I'm rambling. You guys go ahead and dislike if you like all the rambling. But it's in an ideal world, we would just have webcams on and everybody has their webcam on and we can have a discussion with webcams on. But most of the time when I have a meeting like on Zoom or Skype or whatever, I'm the only one with my camera on, right? Which gets kind of weird because when you're not looking at anybody, you're just kind of like, browsing around at stuff. And occasionally we'll have conversations where everybody has their cameras on, and it just makes such a big difference. You could read the expressions on their face when you explain something. When you explain something to somebody, you get the visual feedback whether they understand what you're saying or not. And they're like this, or if they're like just, yeah, no, I understand, or I've been on conversations with clients where I thought, okay, I might not completely understand this, but I'll get it. I'll get it eventually, and then I hang up the phone. And that's not what I want for the developers. I don't want that kind of, thing. I was like, I'll Google this. I'll figure out what they're talking about. But anyway, working with remote teams is just hard. But it's doable, right? It's a skill to learn. It's a skill to learn because if you can make it work, like how many people, I've talked to so many people over the years who say, no, we worked with a team in India and it just didn't work. No, we ended up bringing everything back because, they just, and there's always some borderline, well, probably racist response like, Indians can't code. I've heard that a couple times. Like, yeah, thing about Indian coders is, like, dude, man, there's like, and like in the UK, you have good coders and bad coders. And, everywhere you have good coders and bad coders. You can't just, out of a population of 1 billion people say, yeah, all of them are bad. It's like something that's like native, right? And it's just, so learning to be able to communicate properly and just make sure everybody knows what page we're on is always beneficial. So the documentation is important. I'm really big on wireframes and mock-ups and flowcharts. I do so many flowcharts that it's kind of ridiculous, I think, just the way that I think. DJ QE says, Eric, you mentioned you make a little over $3,000 a month on your apps. Yeah, it's a little bit lower now. It's like 1,500 because my big app was removed. When you say apps, are you talking about 50 plus apps, meaning the average is $60 per month for one app? No, I'm not. So DJ QE, good question. I'm talking about like I have a few that bring in most of the revenue and the rest are just kind of there. Like they might pick up a bit on in-app purchases, but they don't have a lot of, so like right now, if I, like my revenue from in-app purchases and sales is like, it used to be mostly ear agent, and by the way, I got some news on that, which I'll go over later. Where was I? So now it's all language learning apps, but I increased the price of those. So like I sell 2 or 3 of those a day, so it does bring in like 10 or 15 pounds a day. So it's but and the people really want it, and but they don't make a lot through advertising. But no, it's DJ QE. It's I wish I could say they all earned equally, but they don't. Some do really, really well. Some do okay, and a lot of them don't do so well. But I still hold out hope for them. Because I have had a situation where I've had an app that was not doing well at all, and then like after a year, for some reason, it just picked up. Like it started ranking better, started getting, you gotta think about the contributing factors. You could have more people link to it, more people just discover it and recommend it to others. You could have backlinks that come to the page. You got somebody leave a really good review, and then other people leave good reviews, and then things just pick up without you even doing anything. And another time you have to tweak it yourself and make changes to keywords and play around with stuff a little bit there. But that's one of the reasons why I don't remove apps very often, unless I have to, like on the Apple side. Jay Matthew says, how much social media content do you put out on a daily, weekly basis? So for me personally, I don't put out very much. In fact, I'm a bit behind on the YouTube videos since I've gone to twice a week. Like I don't have a video to go out tomorrow yet. Like and I do Instagram stories most days, although this week I've not so much. Now I've got my team does a lot. So I got Julia who's moderating the call today. And she's sending me messages over here to remind me that D apps is the Jalma apps, so I don't forget. And but she does the Instagram posts like the normal in the Instagram feed, not in the stories. And she'll do a lot of the Twitter stuff on the Overpass company Twitter, but she doesn't do my personal Twitter. And she does I think a LinkedIn as well and the Facebook. So that kind of stuff. And Rowena on my team, she does that stuff too. But we do try to keep that stuff going out. But, I try to... It's difficult to come up with stuff to talk about frequently. I mean, not really. It's like there have been times where I'm in the shower and I think, oh, I should talk about this. And then I should write it down. Chuck Norris Jokes, Wi-Fi Blocker says... let's see, BizYG says, thanks for the feedback on my gameplay video. I'll update the game and make a good trailer. Yeah, I think it's but like BizYG, I think see how many people are actually seeing it, because if not a lot of people are watching the trailer, then so look at the YouTube stats. But I think ultimately, if people aren't seeing they're not watching the trailer yet, it's because they're not finding the page, but they will find the page eventually. So Chuck Norris can divide by 0. Oh. Sagar Shende says, like it. Thank you very much. B Smart says, Eric, does bugs affect your app ranking in the store? Because I get mail talking about trending issues in Firebase. So the ranking, so they will affect the ratings and your reviews, and they should affect the rankings too. That's why you have that in the Play Console. They've actually said that they do. So you've got that in the Play Console, the crash reports and the A&R reports. That's kind of what they're there for. So the amount of times I've been looking through those and just been, okay, how could I get rid of this one? Why is this one happening? Why am I getting an A&R on this line of code? And looking at the stack traces that come through, and it's like whack-a-mole sometimes. And sometimes it's not even worth looking at. It's like I've had 2 of those in the last month on, so that could be like, it could be something else, or it could be something I could do. There's only so much you can cater for. But yeah, if you have a high level of A&Rs or a lot of crashes, then, like I talked about this before, I had a ear agent had a situation where it had this crash on a certain line of code, but it was on Android version 2.2 on Samsung devices, like Android 4.2.2, and this was like, I discovered this years afterward, and it was like it happened on the action bar. So it was using the action bar on I think it was a Samsung phones on Android 4.2.2, and I had to go find a fix for it because I thought, but it wasn't anything else. So, but it was happening enough times that I had to go through and put some conditional code in there just in order to get around it. Like, I think it wasn't a try catch, but it was just something. I think it was I swapped the action bar out for something else if it was that platform. Like, really nasty if statement. Like, it was not very elegant. It was not an elegant solution. It was a quick get it up there kind of solution, right? And but like I've seen other ones like that where it's too rare and I don't worry about it so much. So I mean, those crash reports, I assume everybody gets crashes from time to time, right? Like, I always assumed you can't completely get rid of them, but maybe that's just me. Maybe there are people out there going, dude, man, I've never had a crash on my app. But I think if it's too, like, I think make sure it's low. Make sure it's like below, was it 3%? They say there's like the traffic light colors, red, yellow, and green on the on that report. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I know I'm way behind on the questions here. Let's see. Google Chuck Norris. There's hundreds. Okay. Cord Funk says, saw a variation on that joke. There was an image of my father holding a cookie. When he asked, what's the magic number to get what you want? The kid responds with pseudo. Asmith PH says, question. what does it take to build an online app builder? Do you have any ideas? Yeah, I do. So we started one called Project Viaduct, and I had my Calvin on my team worked on it for like 3 months, and in the end, we did the whole WYSIWYG. So the way we did it was we had the Ionic viewer in an iframe. It wasn't an iframe. It was like some sort of component where we'd have, I think it was an iframe. So we would have the view in the iframe, and then a panel on the side, so you can go through. And we didn't do drag and drop, but we did like add button, so you could have the layout and everything. And it was just rendering in the iframe. The reason we use an iframe was so that the CSS didn't bleed into it, and we had and so that we could have like an isolated place where we had all the CSS from Ionic in it, and it was looking pretty good where we were getting to that point. But and then we even did a remote builder. So we got Mac and Cloud service, and we built a web service where it would post that. It would zip up that code from the Ionic, send it to Mac and Cloud so it would compile the IPA file for local. And we got really far, but it was one of these things where I realized, and I probably should have been helping in the development, but it was like we had client stuff. So I was doing the client work, and Calvin was working on Project Viaduct. And it got to the point where I realized we are probably like months and months and months away from ever finishing this thing, right? It's because you're trying to make it flexible to do everything. Like if it only did one thing, that would have been easy. Like if we said it only does events or something, or we only did recipes. Like we did like a recipe generator app builder, then you'd only have to think about certain concepts. But then we started thinking about, because the more I started going down that rabbit hole, I thought, no, then we would need to do. We would need to push notifications. How would we integrate those in a dynamic way where we could have it so, and it was like thinking about all these things, and it became, in the end, by the time I gave up on it, because I just thought, you know what, it just seemed like we lost momentum on it at one point, and I was thinking, okay, we need to finish this. And it was like either I invest a lot more money in getting more developers working on it, or I drop my client work altogether and work on it as well. But then there's also so many app builders out there, and they all have reseller accounts. So you got like all of them, like AppyPie, BizApps. They all have reseller accounts. So as a developer, you can just go in and use that, and you can pretty much reskin them. Well, I think you could just pass it on as your own, but so it's they're white labeled. That's the term, white labeled, right? And then you also have stuff like Siberian. So Siberian CMS, I purchased the full version of Siberian CMS, but whenever I start going through trying to use it, then it was a bit complicated. I thought it was a bit too complicated for like my clients to use, and so in the end, I just sort of bailed on it. When 4.2.6 came out with Apple, the wizard generated thing, so in early 2017, Apple said they would not allow wizard generated apps or something. And then like AppyPie and Good Barber and all these places, they really, really struggled, and they were like, in the end, they got Apple to soften their language, saying that you could still generate these apps using an app builder, but you should put it on the client's account. And at that point, that's pretty much when I bailed, when 4.2.6 came out. I thought, so it's actually quite a lot to build an online app builder, Azimuth. But if you're going to build with an online app builder, it should be simple. Like it should be, and the ones that I've used were not as simple as I thought they should be. Like if I wasn't a developer, I think may have struggled a little bit. I mean, technical. So Flutter Buddy says, how can one sponsor this YouTube channel? So Flutter Buddy, good question. If anybody who does want to sponsor the channel, drop us an email. But we have quite a few that I just haven't done yet. So we've never had a sponsor on this channel. And I have a few emails that I need to get to. I've had a few ASO tools who said they could sponsor it. I've had a few other tools saying they sponsor it. And in the end, it was like, I think it's just I haven't really thought about how I want to do it. Do I just say, today the video is brought to you by Squarespace? They're not one of them, but not big enough for Squarespace, but like this one is brought to you by this ASO tool. Use this ASO tool because I think it's awesome. But if I don't think it's awesome, then I just think it'd be kind of a weird thing. So, but yeah, Flutter Buddy, let us know. I mean, I'm open to doing sponsorship on the channel, but I just haven't done it yet. Or I could do like you see some channels do. So, this video is brought to you by Overpass Apps. Overpass Apps. Download our apps or something like that. But you guys all know that's me. Walk the Talk says, Eric, I think you had a lot of Bubble Bath games. Are some of them removed now due to similar app policy or something? No, they're all still there. So you know what? Okay, so let's have a look. Somebody said last week that a lot of my apps have been removed. And it was really weird because I kind of panicked about this. So let's go to play.google.com. So let's do Mandarin Bubble. Actually, let's do Mandarin Bubble Bath. So this is one of my apps here. And I've got like all these. So if you look at the different, a lot of these are mine here. Well, actually, almost all of them are mine except this one. But you see Overpass apps. However, somebody was saying it looks like a lot of my apps have been removed because if you go to this page, it only shows 8 of them. And if you go view more, oh, they've changed it. But yeah, no, we have quite a lot of apps on there. But I don't know unless I'm the only one who can see this because it's my developer account. But no, we do have quite a lot of them on there. I have removed some. But most of them are still here, I think. I don't think we've had any removals. At least if we haven't got any emails about it. So, but thanks, Walk the Talk, for looking out for me. Fiction Studios says, have you used Xamarin C# for developing cross-platform app? I haven't. I looked into it. And I even had, I got a few books on it back in the early, when I first started out. I thought I want to do everything in Xamarin, and back then it seemed like it could do a lot, but it seemed like it was still trying to keep up with the other platforms. So to do a GUI so when I was reading the book, I was like, to do a GUI in iOS, you could do all your code in monodevelop. But I think I think you do VS Code now, right? If you do all the code in monodevelop, but then in order to do the interface, you had to go open up Xcode and do the nib file and to do all the drag and drop bit, and it was really weird the way it was, kind of like going from one to the other. In the end, and then when I was doing the Android side of things, it just seemed like C# was just so similar to Java, although I'm a C# developer. I mean, it wasn't that similar. Like I still kept doing writing string with a lowercase s rather than do string as the object, and little stuff like that, or using string builder instead of string buffer, or vice versa, whichever it was. But in the end, I just thought it was a smaller leap to go from C# to Java than it was to go from C# to Objective C, which is a huge leap. But after that, I haven't really used it. But I know that other people have, and I think it's gotten a lot better. First of all, it used to be really expensive, and now I think it's free. I'm not even sure but it's and I like the idea. I mean, Fiction Studios, to be honest with you, I like the idea of having one solution file where I have a back end so I have 3 projects. I have the front end for Android, front end for iOS, and the core framework for most of the logic. But now we got Flutter, and we got other things which is a different language, but it seems to be filling that hole. It always bothered me that when I looked at Xamarin, the argument for Xamarin was never, hey, this can do all your development for you. It was always like, use a language you already know. Right? It's like, I can learn another language. But I don't want to do 2 languages. I don't want to switch between one and the other. I don't want to have 2 different code bases, all that kind of stuff. And in some ways, Xamarin still had 2 different code bases, at least for the GUI side of things. And I don't know if things have changed a lot since then, but they might have done. Be Smart says, is spending $500 in AdWords can give you 10,000 downloads to the app? So 10,000 downloads with $500. I think it could. Wait, 500. No, actually, that would be what, a 5p. What I would do, I wouldn't spend $500 in AdWords. I would spend like $20 in AdWords and try to get that cost per conversion up first before you start putting more money into it. Like you got to test the pipeline. If you have a bad ad or people are hitting your app store page and they're not downloading or whatever reason, an ad is only as good as the ad, right? It's like you can't. Showing an ad to somebody is not going to force them to download. It's just going to be like, it's going to say, hey, look at my app over here. And if they look at it and they're not that impressed, or if the ad is like targeted wrong and you target the wrong group of people, then you're just going to be throwing your money away. So I would say spend a little bit at first, and then try to get the click-through rate and everything up. Not the click-through rate, the conversion rate. Jay Matthews says, I've been a software developer for over 10 years, but I've never been on sales. Lately, I've been doing more client work. Cool. One of the things I'm having trouble with is giving a ballpark price. Any tips? Go high. Yes, Jay. And that's hard. It's hard to do that. And in the beginning, I used to never give a ballpark in a meeting. Like I would kick that can down the road, and it turned out that I would have like loads and loads of meetings, right? And they didn't even have, like, I'm thinking this is going to cost like whatever, like 10,000 pounds or whatever, and they're thinking it's going to be like 1,000, right? So without that number being out there, we're just wasting everybody's time. So it's better to give a range, and you have to think about not just how long it would take you to do it. I mean, you have to think about how long it would take you to do it, but then you have to think about the other costs. You have to think about how specific is a requirement, like how much wiggle room is there. So if there's a lot of wiggle room, then you have to have a bigger range for the project, right? You have to think about, what if you give it to them and they say, oh, can we change this and change this and change this? Because there's always going to be some scope creep, right? And if so be ready for that. And if there isn't, then it's better for you. To give you an example, let's say an example of a project that you can give a ballpark on. Somebody says, I want an app that posts to Twitter. It's like a simple app, right? It's a text. So I want an app that posts to Twitter, right? And you say, does it need to read from Twitter? So no, I just want to be able to enter some text and it posts to Twitter for me, right? And so you think, okay, so we're basically talking about a text area and a button and then a setting, so you go in and put your things in there, do the OAuth, and then you're thinking, so it's just gonna be a really simple app. Text box, button, they put in their text, whatever. For whatever reason, I don't know why anybody would want that, but that would be your example one, right? So in your mind, that's what you're thinking. You give it to them and they go, ooh, I don't know if I like the icon. I don't know if I like the font. Isn't there a way we can have a drop down with different things that could go into that text box? All of a sudden, things start coming out that, first of all, they never specified before, or they may say, oh yeah, well, we mentioned that before. And they may have mentioned it before, but it wasn't part of your ballpark. It was kind of like, a lot of times you'll go to that first meeting and lots of ideas will be thrown out there. And I've gotten to the point now where I have to say, and when I quote for somebody, make sure what you want is in this quote, because if it isn't, it will be a change request, or it could be a change request if I want to be, like, if it's really difficult, because we've had this, you get this a lot. So but if you could just give a ballpark price, then you're better off, and do it as a range, right? So if you say, and I do this all the time, I'll do, how much would it cost to do this? They'll talk about what they want. I'll go, I think that would probably be between, I say 8 to 12,000. Just thinking about in terms of this, and this is, I know we're talking about like admin site, server code, API, push notifications, all this stuff. So I'm thinking around, anywhere 8 to 10,000, and they're like, okay, cool. Because I also want this, and then they start doing stuff, and once that number's out there, it's difficult. But then you have to start reining stuff in there. So I understand you not want to put a number out there. And first of all, they may say, oh, that's way too much, and forget it. You're better off. You're better off than finding out later on that that you had 10 meetings with them and nothing. Just get used to it. I'm used to doing it all the time. In fact, the fact that I say 8 to 10 on this live stream, I'm sure there's lots of guys out there going, that I could do that for a lot less, without even know what it is, because you've never quoted that high. And just get used to being realistic on these things, and think about scope creep. Think about design something that just adds. I mean, design is like always adding to stuff. I don't like that font. I don't like this. Can we change the icon? That kind of stuff. Rifat says, housing question. Does it make sense to live in a suburban area for a startup in a city center? Having a garage in the city center costs a lot. Not sure if I should take a mortgage or have a studio. I've lived in city centers, but not with a business. To me, I never understood why somebody would move into a middle of a city except to get more if you move. So I've worked for lots of companies I've worked for a company in Reading, and they moved to London. I've worked in a company in Oxford that moved to London. I've worked for companies that worked out in the industrial park out in the middle of nowhere, and they moved into a city center. And immediately parking becomes difficult. It's difficult to get in and out. It's easier public transport, but I hate going into city centers for meetings, right? I think, where am I going to park? I'm parking at some 2-hour free parking at some shopping center and walking half a mile to get to the meeting, all sweaty and everything. Just go out in the countryside. I think it's better to go out in the countryside myself, but I like being in the city more. Abdul Jabbar says, I had a card game removed from Google Play. AI thought it was a gambling game. I managed to reinstate it, but it's not available in many countries. I don't know why. Did you face something like this? No, I never had. Have you gone through have you checked? I mean, is it like grayed out if you go into the pricing and distribution section? Cordfunk says, yo, Eric, yo, Cordfunk, do you have any favorite libs on Node.js you use all the time other than Express? I use UUID. I use UUID a lot, mainly because if you have some code that saves to, if you save an image to a server, you upload an image, the amount of times I've had developers, myself included, have an app where somebody uploads an image and you save it to a server. However, we didn't rename it to a GUID, so it either overwrites something else, or it somebody will upload something called picture1.jpg or something, and it's not a unique name. So every time I save something to a server, I always use UUID. I always use MySQL. It depends on the code that we're doing, but and NodeMon's not really a library, is it? It's just a thing that you run. But I can't think of anything that specifically I use that other people wouldn't. I use Express a lot with the body parser, and but yeah, I use UUID a lot just for every time you need something, just you rename it so we don't have any conflicts. I hate having to look, does it already exist, whatever. So Avinash Sharma says, Eric, love your videos. Thank you very much. I'm making an app which will pay users to use the app. Basically, what I'm doing is just sharing my part of the revenue. Will I be violating a policy in Play Store? I don't know. And can I integrate AdMob with it? I've heard people do that before, pay their users, or pay their users. And I've had clients come to me and say they want to give a prize out to users. We'll give them a gift certificate for Amazon or something if they do so. And for me, because my apps always have a global audience, I always think that would be complicated. I think it would be complicated to pay people in different currencies. The logistics of that would kind of bother me. First of all, let's say you people making you have to generate revenue besides just ads. So if people download an app with ads in it in order to earn money from the ads, then they will be tempted to click on the ads. And then, I think that would be a violation. If you have something where people make in-app purchases and then they get a bit of money back from the in-app purchases, then my argument there would be, why not just charge less for it? So this is something I don't quite understand that. So if you, Avinash, if you let me know, because you can't incentivize AdMob clicking which is what it would be if you shared the revenue of the AdMob clicks with them. You might as well do it yourself and get suspended faster that way. So, Rano Jarvin, how's it going, Rano? Prithvi says, hey, Eric, there's an issue with my AdMob. There's no URL showing in the app ads.txt, even though, and it's listed on the Play Store and Google Play. Is it mandatory to have the HTTPS URL? AdMob support didn't help. I don't know. I have HTTPS just because I think it helps with ASO a couple years ago. And it's, ever since, it seems like everything has moved to HTTPS. And whereas before I would go, I hate setting up SSL. Going through and going to the certificate authority, purchasing the thing, putting it on your server, doing the whatever the PEM files and everything like that. So now we just use for our site we use Cloudflare. So I have the paid version of Cloudflare so that we can just do SSL through there. So the HTTPS goes through Cloudflare, even though I don't have to have the certificate on my server. So we do have HTTPS, and I set up the redirects on the what's it called, htaccess file. So if somebody comes on the HTTP, it redirects them to the HTTPS automatically. That way, I didn't lose any backlinks and everything like that. So, but I don't know if it's mandatory. So Jay Matthews. So next week's live is on FaceTime. Lol. What do you mean FaceTime? So I can see everybody. Ronald Jarvin says, a 5-year-old app of mine randomly went from getting 10 downloads a week to getting over 2,000 per day in the U.S. See? See? There's hope for all of us. Many of your old apps ever randomly been revived like this? And what should I focus on? Yeah, for me, I did a video about this a couple years ago where it was one called Korean. Well, it was a Korean bubble bath. It was Korean bubble bath, which just it stayed with the rest of the bubble bath, just kind of like floating along, and then it just took off. Right, it became one of the best ones that I had, and it was just seemed to be overnight. Like it was like, so more people started. And I wish I could say that it was an ad campaign or something, but for whatever reason, people just started using it. They started leaving reviews, and then it started to snowball because the more reviews it had, the more downloads it had, the better it started doing the rankings, and then it just started to snowball and do better that way. So it's that chicken and egg thing, but once you get onto that, then yeah, I have had that happen before, which is one of the reasons why I don't remove apps thinking, oh, it's not working, I'm just going to remove it. I'm thinking, no, I still think this could work. And the only time I ever think about removing them is when I have to update if I have to update for Google Play or AdMob libraries or GDPR or whatever. Then I think, oh, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Ravi Kumar Sharma says, hey, Eric, I'm working on a fitness app. What do you think I should keep in mind? Any past experiences? I've never done a fitness app, but it's a very crowded market. Because I've had loads of clients come to me with fitness apps, and I just every time I think it's like meditation apps. There's like a few key ones out there and lots of other ones because a lot of people are passionate about it and they're putting stuff out there. So I would think, Ravi, I think if you did that, do a fitness app, I think you would have to use some sort of advertising. So doing advertising, because you'd be interrupting people who may not necessarily be looking for a fitness app. Because if they're looking for a fitness app, they're going to find one of the other ones, right? They do too well in the rankings. But if you could, like, I bought these fake earpods from like an Instagram ad, right? They're not real earpods; they're just the fake ones. They really suck, right? And the reason I bought them was because I wasn't because I was looking for them, because if I was looking for them, I would have been on Alibaba and I would have got something far cheaper. But it was because they showed me an ad and I thought, oh yeah, I'd like that. So that's the way you go. So it's like we talked for years about how interruption marketing is that's the old way of doing stuff, interruption marketing, and now it's going to be search marketing. So if somebody's searching for what you have, then that's a perfect time to do it, because you already know that's what they want. However, everybody has that same strategy, and that's why it's so crowded. So if you have something like fitness app, I think, think about your ads, think about what would be different about your ads, think about the unique selling point of your application, and how can you get that in front of people. That's just me, but like it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Yeah, Avanash should violate the terms and conditions. Ionol Appetite says, how long did it take you to earn $1 a day? It seems to take quite a task to achieve that with apps these days. It wasn't that long. It was like, for me, I think it was a couple months. So, I mean, but it wasn't all through AdMob. It was the in-app purchases too. So in-app, for one in-app purchase, you could you think about how many ad impressions are going to equal one in-app purchase, right? So if you could do the in-app purchases, do that, right? Otherwise, you talk about through advertising, you have to have a lot of traffic coming through. Where was I? I lost so every so often I'll lose my place. Sorry about that. If I swear, it's not intentional. Let's see. Steve Barrows. Hey, Steve says, hey, Eric, do you think the repetitive content policy strike can catch up with my 2 apps on 2 linked publisher accounts? Both are barcode scanner apps. I wouldn't think so. Like, I showed you all my apps, the language learning apps. Like, some of them are the same language. Like, I haven't had a problem with repetitive content on Google Play, and unless they're the exact same app. I mean, I did remove ear assist because it was too similar to ear agent, and I'm gonna put ear assist back up because I got an email last night. Finally, they respond after 2 weeks. They responded to all my emails saying, hey, are you gonna reinstate this app? Can you please reinstate this app? And they finally came back and said, I'm sorry, we can't help you. So, but I'm gonna do a video about that because I'm really angry about that one. But so I'm going to put ear assist back on, but like, I haven't had any problem with that. I think you should be fine, Steve. You're talking about 2 apps on 2 separate accounts. I mean, I don't know what more you can do. You're not doing anything bad. You have two products. So the whole repetitive content thing, the thing that bothers me about it is it makes it sound like we're doing something bad, and we're not. We're just trying to serve more people by having different markets for different apps and appealing to different people in different ways, right? And we're worried about too similar to each other. Apple is the worst for this. The 4.3 thing, I mean, I had to remove most of my Apple apps for that specific reason, but Google Play I've never had trouble with. Now, has anybody out there ever had any trouble with repetitive content? Because I know we've been talking about this for a while. Making English Fun says, hiya, had a telecommunications and mobile network reach out and ask if they could put my app on their bundled app on their phones and tablets. What are the dangers, do you think? And the dangers to me, you think? I can't think of any dangers, Making English Fun. I mean, I think ultimately it's going to get more exposure. If you get more people using it, then, you might lose a bit of revenue there, but you would get more. I mean, you would have you could have a smaller audience or more dedicated people. You could have more people. I think the more you can get in front of people, the better. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I think I can't think of any downsides myself, but because ultimately the way that I'm thinking about it is not so much the revenue you would earn from that mobile ad network, more like you get people using that mobile ad network, and then maybe you get the word of mouth that way. If it's something like people think they're getting a deal by using your app through their that bundle or whatever. But that's what I think. Yeah, don't forget to smash that like button, Julia says. Let's see. Walk the Talk says, Eric, tell us about the tech stack that Overpass apps use, like programming languages, services, tools, etc. It depends on the project and the client. I'm trying so hard to get Flutter, so we have some Flutter projects going at the moment. Do we have Flutter project going? We have a few React Native projects. We've got some PWAs. We've got 2 PWAs. One's in Ionic and one's in React. And it's because we use React Native and we converted over to PWA. We've got I do a lot of games in Corona, but that's mostly me doing those. We've got some Unity games out there. On the back end, my preference is always to use Node.js and Express, and my developers always seem to want to use PHP and Laravel. So like, see, PHP and Laravel always comes up. Nobody ever says hey, let's use C# in web forms, or just use ASP.NET. Let's use ASP.NET MVC framework. Is that still a thing? Nobody ever says that. It's always like either PHP or Node.js. My preference is always Node.js with MySQL over NoSQL. My developers are always, if they use Node.js, they want to use NoSQL, either Firebase or MongoDB. And I'm okay with that. But the PHP one, I'm always kind of like, oh, yeah, you know, it just feels, I'm just not a fan of PHP. And like I said last week, it's because I had a girlfriend once who ran off with a PHP developer. I have an irrational hatred of PHP, but that's just me. Fiction Studio says, how many developer accounts do you have totally for Play Store and App Store? I only have the one. I have one for each, personally. I am linked to a whole bunch of other like client ones. Like I get my clients to set up their own App Store and Play Store accounts, but I still just have the one, Fiction Studios. And it's having all, I mean, yeah, so that's why I'm so nervous. That's why I'm prematurely aging, because I'm worried about suspensions and stuff like that. Every time I hear somebody who gets their account suspended, I get a little worried, thinking, what would you do? What happened? Like, tell me the details. I don't want to, I don't want that to happen to me. But, just try to follow all the rules. I've had friends who've had multiple accounts, and it just seemed like too complicated to have all those things out there. So, let's see. Jenish Dobraya says, Eric, you are a really good person. I'm not that good. I'm a bad. All right, let's stop. I'm not a good person. I'm a bad. Do my alpha channel, my alpha male channel, which I starting next week. I'm a bad man. Jenish says, Eric, you are a really good person. I'm new here in Android and work as a full stack developer. What do you suggest to a newbie about Android? I mean, what should they do to make apps successful with ASO? I think about, because ultimately the app has to start with an idea. And an app can't start with ASO, but if you knew about ASO before, then you could name your app something that is that it might have better keywords in it, that might have less traffic, and looking at that. So ultimately, you want words in your title that have a lot of traffic, but not a lot of competition, which is easier said than done, right? I mean, that's like, I could say, as an ASO consultant, which I'm not, I could say, well, you know what you need to do here, right? And I know you pay me a lot of money, is you need to have a high traffic keyword with low competition, right? It's like, duh. What is it? But when you look at it, there's so many apps out there that it's harder to do. So if you think about the backlinks, how can you get people to notice it? Is there something out there that, what people, like getting people in to do reviews, getting backlinks in, getting as many downloads initially as you can, so the algorithm will think that this is worth looking at, and you rank higher. And you could do that through ads initially, but try to go with the lowest cost per install to begin with. And yeah, I wouldn't let ASO guide the content of the app, but it should definitely guide the title and some of that kind of stuff. So and ASO is App Store optimization. It's not like a trick. It's just optimizing for the App Store, thinking about how does the App Store work. And then there's all the things out there that you can learn. You make sure you have, and I always like to go just the basics. Number one, you have to be found. So how are people going to find you? If you're not going to use advertising, then you need to make sure that your keywords are right, because people are going to be searching. And when they search, how are they going to find you, right? And once they find you and they go to you, and your icon shows up in the list of icons there, hopefully you're ranked pretty high based on what they're looking for. Which is that whole high traffic, low competition thing, right? Hopefully you rank pretty high. And then are they actually clicking through to your Play Store page? Like, are they actually looking at the page? Which means is your title good enough, and is your icon good enough? Like, when they're seeing them all together, then are they actually make that decision? If they go into your Play Store page, and you find this by using your user acquisition report, once they get into that Play Store page, are they actually doing the downloads? For me, the conversion rate is about 25%, give or take. Some of my apps is a bit lower. And so from there, that's where you actually have a little bit more control, because you're thinking, okay, it's no longer Google's problem. I'm getting the traffic here. By the way, if you use advertisements, you could bypass step one altogether. So you're getting people to your Play Store page, right? And that's the conversion rate. That's what's kind of important. That's more in your controls. Like, why are people coming to my page? What are they looking for? And why are they deciding when they get here they don't want to download it? Do the screenshots need work? Does the description need work? Are the reviews bad? Is there not enough reviews? So at that point, you have a bit more control over it. Whereas before you get to that point, you have no control. And then you get them going into the app, and then you have to think, how do you monetize them? How do you get them to keep coming back into the app? How do you get them to make purchases? All that kind of stuff. So those 3 different stages. And this, while it's not part of App Store optimization, Jenish, when you're doing it, think about monetization. What are people going to spend money on? Like, if you could do, like, don't just do like the rest of us where we think, okay, we'll just do remove ads as an in-app purchase. No, do something. Think about something which is, the app should be good for people who can't afford it and serve them ads, but you should be able to have some way that people can, extend it. And every app is different. For me, for Ear Agent, I talk about my old. Okay, so for my language learning games, I'll stop talking about Ear Agent because it's dead. For my language learning games, it's like having the first few lessons free, but then if they want to get the rest of them, then they can make an in-app purchase and unlock all of them. Now, I could have done subscription, right? In retrospect, I wish I did subscription, and I probably could still do it. But right now it's just one in-app purchase. But initially I'd have like all these language categories, and each one was a separate in-app purchase. And what I found was people didn't want that. I mean, it just wasn't doing it. First of all, it was hard to set up. So I had like 60 different categories. The first 10 are free. The other 50, you know how hard it is to go through and set up 50 different in-app purchases and then and then code them into the app. It was just too difficult to do. So, and the descriptions and the localized descriptions and everything. So in the end, it was just pro version, unlock the pro version. So if they click on any of those, try to access any of the locked ones, it'll come up with a pop-up saying, do you want to make a purchase, right? And it's just a larger cost. So think about that. What more value can you give them so you don't have to rely on ads? I mean, ads would be good if you can get that momentum, but don't rely on ads completely. Rifat says, Eric, where do you find the motivation to keep going on? God, it's hard. do you do affirmations like Tony Robbins or any CBT techniques? Things are not so great at times. Yeah, you know what? I do. I've talked about this before. I come in early, and sometimes I'm just in a pissed off mood. Like anybody who works on my team, they know that I could get a bit moody sometimes. And I'm like grumbling, and I'm just there's moments where you just feel low, like why the hell do I even go on doing this? You're just like, God, you know what? You just like, there are times where everything's going well. Hey, everything's good. And there's other times where you feel like, dude, is everybody in the world mad at me? Is everybody disappointed in me? Am I like not good enough for anybody? I mean, dude, I don't mean to get dark here, but we all have those I'm not good enough feelings, don't we? So a lot of times you just have to snap out of it. You have to snap out of it. So I do watch a lot of it's just embarrassing. I watch a lot of motivational videos sometimes in the morning. I just need to get out of this funk, right? I just need to so watching something motivational in the morning, I'll do. I don't do, I thought about doing, I've been to a Tony Robbins Unleash Power Within, and I thought about doing just go, stuff in the office in the morning, but I'm by myself. There's a window here. I don't know who else can see into this office, right? It's just kind of, I don't want to do that. So, but I will do, I will watch motivational videos sometimes. Affirmations, I try affirmations, but I don't, it's just, I don't do affirmations so much. Sometimes I do, just repeating affirmations, but I don't do it enough to really know if it works. But I will, sometimes I'll write down stuff. I have a notebook on my desk where sometimes I'll just go through and not so much journal, just keep writing my goals down over and over again. So, just think about it and, take the time to do it. But yeah, sometimes things aren't so great at times, and the whole, what do they talk about, the Instagram culture where we're all just super successful, right? Just everybody feels low. Everybody has those days. Everybody's like, dude, you know, there have been times where a YouTube comment has completely put me off for the day, and like I can't get another video done because I'm just thinking about this one guy's comment about how, you know, you talk too much, or you know, you're an idiot. I'm sick of seeing your videos, that kind of stuff. And it's like, you know, some random guy who I've never met can just make you feel really low, or you have like a maybe a project's going bad, or it's just like, or sometimes it feels like. I talk to other business owners, like small businesses, and the nice thing about talking to other business owners, like as friends, like not like, it's nice when you have friends as business owners that you don't like, they're never going to be your clients and you're never going to be their clients. It's just like, let's have a chat, because a lot of them have this too. Like they're at the top of the, like they're trying to control everything. Everybody wants a piece of them. Everybody wants the, you know, 5 minutes of their time. Everybody wants something, and you know, and they're supposed to have the answers for everything, and they don't. So like, and sometimes it does get really, really lonely that way too. And yeah, I mean, depressions, we all get depressed. I mean, not clinical depressed, but just like those low moments. Joshy Bomb says, AdMob does not show my ads, and it has a lot of requests, but not, the match rate is so low. So Joshy, are you checking? Check to see what countries there. So these are what I would look at. I would look at, are they coming from different countries? Are they coming from one country because maybe there isn't any inventory there, or are you seeing any errors? Are you seeing any errors when it tries to display? Like if you try to run a test ad in and watch Logcat, do you see any errors coming through? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going off on all these tangents here. Sorry about that, guys. So make sure you smash that like button for all those people who, or the dislike button. Go ahead and hit the dislike button. I don't mind. Apavelli says, what are your favorite shows, movies you watch related to software development? Do you watch Mr. Robot? I watched season 1 of Mr. Robot and I liked it, but it was kind of just a bit too dark. A couple weeks ago, somebody asked me about Silicon Valley, and I think I binge watched Silicon Valley. I thought that was really good. About software development, there's been a few shows that I've watched. There was one in the early 2000s called I think it was called Attachments on BBC. That was okay, but it was more like a soap opera type thing. Let's see, what else? I can't really think of any. There's not a whole lot. It's funny. There's not a whole lot of drama about software developers out there. I mean, not like actual code. It's funny because when you get around other software developers, you could talk about code, probably like surfers talk about waves. Like you're going, oh man, I did this algorithm, like this, I did this recurring function, right? And I'm running it, right? And everything should have happened right, but for some reason, it just got into this infinite loop, right? And I had to shut down the machine. I had to and there's well, why did you put a counter in there? It's like, dude, man, I know that now, but like I had to go and do. And it's like we're able to just relate with each other, and we can tell funny stories about stuff that we did, or we can talk about locking it, well, just the issues that we have and that kind of stuff. And I think it's interesting, but I guess it doesn't translate well to the screen. But yeah, let's see. Black Hat. So I've never seen Black Hat either. I should have a look at that. Is there another one? Burn After Reading. Halt and Catch Fire. Halt and Catch Fire was really, really good. I enjoyed watching that. Jenish says, Eric, you have a really great experience of working in Android development. I just want to ask you, can app be successful even without promotion by just organic downloads by some great ASO practices? I think it can. I mean, it's without promotion with just some great ASO practices. I think so. I think it could. It's all it's all Google. I mean, it's without promoting something. If for some reason you got featured by Apple or Google, then yeah, you could do really well. But that's a big if. So it's I mean, that's the goal. I mean, yeah, but it's harder. It's harder to do that. So you're going into a crowded market and you're hoping that you'll be the runaway success, and that's, there's so many things that can make that happen for you, but more things won't make it happen for you. I know it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say without knowing like the app or what it does. What's the it's a difficult question to answer. It's it's a difficult question to answer. Omar Buzomita says, hey Eric, can I make AdMob serve black video when there's no rewarded videos available? Like, my users always find ads to buy stuff in the app. Black video? Can AdMob serve black video when there's no rewarded videos available, so my video always finds ads to buy stuff in the app? I'm not sure, Omar. I know that they do have... Yeah, because that was one of the problems I had with rewarded videos, was my whole thing when I started, and I'd read a article by Chris Chigi about how he used rewarded ads to generate revenue. So you have to watch 10 videos from Vungle or whatever ad colony, and you had to watch 10 videos in order to unlock a feature. So I tried to implement that, and immediately the first thing I found was there wasn't that much inventory. So maybe people would get like 3 ads watched, and that was it. There was no more, so they couldn't get any further, and then they were mad. They were angry. They were leaving a lot of bad reviews. So that's one of the problems with, like, if there's not a video to show. So I don't know what black ads means though. Black video, I mean, unless you're talking about a blank screen. Walk the Talk says, I'm having over 6.5 thousand page views and over 300 clicks in my app each day. Cool, but my CTR is 0.02 because my app is for India market mostly. I used to have I think I had low click-through rate I had low inventory on India market and low RPMs, which is nice when you're actually promoting. I mean, that's a good market to go for, to get those downloads, or to get those get the downloads and the reviews and everything. Julio Cruz says, hey Eric, do you know if there's a minimum audience requirement for AdMob to serve ads? There wasn't when I did it, when I started. I have an app with a daily average of only 20 users, and I've experienced intermittent fail to load ad, 3 errors. Julio, I don't think there is a minimum, but if you're getting 20 users, I think you should look at in-app purchases, because you're talking about, I mean, you can have a lot of impressions to make any money from it, from ads. So I think per ad, with the RPM, so like if your RPM is 50 cents per, if your RPM is 50 cents, well, let's say it's $1, your RPM's $1, then you're talking about that's for 1,000. So you're talking about, that's actually, what's that, 10? Is that like 1 cent? I'll do the math, but it's like, it's not a lot. You have to have a lot of impressions in order to do it. And if you're not at that point, I would start putting some in-app purchases in there if you can, or subscription or something. Subscription. I've never done subscription. I'm envious of people who do subscription. But David Maraba says, hi Eric, receiving a lot of site behavior navigation AdMob violations lately. Oh really? Have you experienced with the same, and what could be going on with AdMob and the solution? Site behavior navigation. Oh, so you're talking about like the placements. If it's the placements, I've had that where like I've had ads pop up, like, and it should be at a transition, like a good point in the transition in the application, but I just make whatever changes and appeal it, and they'll go through and check it, and everything's fine. So I've never had an appeal for an AdMob, like an AdMob appeal rejected, because I mean, but I have had a Google Play mainly because it was just innocent stuff, you know. You have an ad that's might be covering buttons on certain screen sizes, right? If it looks like it's intentional, like, then, you know, I'm sure they would be less, you know, less forgiving about it. Rodrigo's here in the end. Ben Hamza says, Eric, what features do you offer for your in-app purchases? So for like It depends on the app, but for like Ear Agent, at first it was just remove ads, which nobody ever does. I mean, do you do it? I mean, do you ever think, you know what? Even support the developer. Yeah, you support the developer, but you know, some people will if it's not too expensive. But like, so we started doing stuff like extended, like on Ear Agent, we had extended equalizer, MP3 recording, home screen widget, and another one for remove ads. Other apps, so we just have like unlock other categories. So we have categories and they're locked, and you have to unlock them. And we could do something with in-app currency, like coins or something, but we never did anything like that, implement anything like that. So that's something that we do get purchases on. So and it actually adds more value to the application. So if you make the application more valuable, but at the same time you want as many people to be able to use it as possible without saying this is useless without this in-app purchase. You know. So, and I've had people like people tell me you should do like first 2 weeks free, or first week is free, and you know then you have to pay more, which I guess is what subscriptions does. But I've always just done the additional features for the in-app purchases. Rodrigo says, ignore ASO, focus on the app being good and bug-free. The rest comes with time. That's true. But there's certain things, yeah, I mean, if you know what kind of competition you have before you develop the app, that would be good. My second or third app was, second, third, fourth, was a meditation timer. There are so many meditation timers out there, right? It was because I wanted to do one. I wanted to do one because I thought mine will be better, but there was so much competition that it just didn't do well. Walk the Talk says, say you manage your client's Play Store account too. You log into their account from your network. If for some reason their account gets suspended, won't Google target your account too? Yeah, good question, Walk the Talk. Since they're logging multiple accounts from the same network, they might track IP. Yeah, I mean, if my clients, like, I would not. Yeah, I think it's my clients that aren't doing anything that bad. Most of them are companies. You know, they're not out there doing anything bad, and the only apps they have are the ones that I've done. So I'm not too worried about that. But I totally take your meaning on that. Colt Eves. Yes, Eric, I finally made a live stream. Hey, Colt, the guy with the coolest name ever. I'm actually in the middle of a regression sprint at work. So I saw some of your comments in your videos about Flutter. I want to know your thoughts now about Flutter. Colt, are you doing Flutter now? Let's see. Omar says, what do you think about Reddit ads? I've never done Reddit ads. In fact, I've only once or twice been on Reddit because I guess I'm old. Omar, Reddit's for the young people. I like to read the newspaper. Sorry, I'm just making myself laugh here in the office. Rifat says, language learning games. We are coming closer. Cool. We look forward to our next conversation, Rifat. Pretty says, Google terminated my developer account yesterday. Any advice, Eric? Should I publish an app on Alternative Store? Yeah, I think you should. I mean, if you have the code, Pretty, you have the code, you have the assets. If Google Play's not going to let you play, then it's either publish on another store, which I know is not going to be as popular. Either publish on another store or don't publish at all, right? Publish on another store. I was talking to somebody sent me an email recently talking about how Huawei was actually doing really well for them, right? And I felt like, God, you know what? Why haven't I not been on Huawei store? I've set up an account, but I haven't done anything yet because I'm lazy. So I mean, Pretty, you might be able to find something out there that's different. I mean, it's yeah, I definitely try some of those stores because it's already compiled. The only thing you'd have to change is if you have in-app purchases, and maybe you have to change ad networks. Yeah, definitely do that. Melissa Riley says, what's your research process of finding a need in language learning apps with giants like Duolingo and Memrise seemingly monopolizing everything to the point of indie developer seems unable to enter? That's a good question, Melissa, because when you think of language learning apps, you think of Duolingo and Memrise. But my whole thing, and this is again, it gets more and more crowded. I don't know. Like for when I did my first Chinese Mandarin game, there wasn't a whole lot out there, and now there's just loads. Like so many people doing the same kind of stuff. It's. But one of the benefits that I have with my games is not one application. Duolingo is a known name. Memrise is a known name. But so like my Swahili game, Learn Swahili Bubble Bath, does pretty well because there's not a whole lot of competition. If somebody's searching for, I want to learn Swahili, it may or may not come up with Duolingo, right? But if they say they want to learn languages, then Duolingo might come up. I'm sure if they say they want to learn Spanish, Duolingo. Let's do a test. Let's do a test here. Like me just talking out my butt. Let's do a test. So if I do learn Spanish on Google Play, we've got learn Spanish. Duolingo comes in second, but we got learn Spanish first. It's better targeted for the keywords, but Duolingo. Dude, it's Duolingo. It's the juggernaut. That's the one with 8 gajillion users. We got Memrise over here. So if you were looking to learn Spanish, and you knew about Duolingo, you may go straight to Duolingo. If we go one of the ones that are like learn Vietnamese, again, none of mine are going to show up in these results for Vietnamese if I spell the name right. So here we got learn Vietnamese. Learn Vietnamese. I don't think Duolingo does Vietnamese. So, but mine would be. This is just Memrise. Oh, there it is. That's the paid one. There's Vietnamese Spy. There's mine there. Do I have any others? Oh, here we go. There we go. It's still down a bit. So yeah, that's one of the few benefits. So what Apple did when they did the 4.3 was they said you have to take all of your language learning apps and combine them into one app. Then I would be competing with Duolingo. I'd be competing with Memrise, and then somebody who was able to focus on just one language would do better in search rankings than me. That was my whole thing about it. That's the reason I haven't done it yet, because it's not a technical issue, it's a marketing issue. And just like on principle, I don't want to do it. I don't want to have one container app. All right, because then, because I'm not going to be able to compete with Duolingo, right? Unless, I probably won't be able. I shouldn't be so defeatist about it, but so yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking there, Melissa. That's my reason for doing that. I'm thinking about the keyword optimization. How can people find it when they're searching for what they're searching for? Can I target that in some way? And also going for like some of the languages I go for. Initially I went for Hindi and then Mandarin. Mandarin was the one I really wanted to go for because I was in the Army and I learned Mandarin at Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California for a year, and then they sent me to learn Vietnamese. So that was kind of my thing. That's what I wanted to do. But then when I did Swahili and Vietnamese and Thai, there was a lot less competition on those. And they do okay. They do all right. Let's see. 44580 says, any new Overpass apps in the work at the moment? None of our own. Everything's a client application at the moment. I did start one on my own, and then I got so busy working the client stuff. The client stuff is urgent; it has to get done. And then our own apps, not so much. But it's tweaking the other ones. Even the re-releasing Ear Assist is something where I removed Ear Assist before GDPR. Now that they removed Ear Agent, which used to be Ear Spy, I got to re-release Ear Assist, but then I got to go through and add the GDPR stuff in there again, and any advances I've done. It's a flavor, so a lot of the code is the same, but the flavor. So it's an Android Studio project with 4 different flavors, and so it's a flavor of that one. So a lot of the code already has been changed, but I just need to go through and change some of the others. Let's see. Cord Funk says there's a funny show called Loaded about some app developers. Oh, I should take a look at that. Isam Dry says, I'm new to the world of apps. Is there a site that can specialize in app marketing? Yeah, there's loads. Look at Sensor Tower has a really good blog. There's lots of people out there who do content on specifically on app marketing. I guess we talk a lot about app marketing here, but you got Steve P. Young does App Masters, where he talks about ASO all the time. All right, and I mean, there's loads of people out there. So, Walk the Talk says, what is a good retention rate for the users who download your app? Mine is between 6 to 10%. Daily active users around 375. Mine was really low. Mine was like my uninstall rate after the first couple of days was really high. I wish I could show you the stats now, but my big one has been removed. And everyone would say, how do you, like it was a failure, but I was still making the revenue from it. So, but I guess what's a good rate? I don't know. In terms of what's an average rate, I don't even know what that is. But it's, if you look, every time I've spoken to other app developers, it's been like really low, the retention rate. Avinash Sharma says, hey Eric, I'm not asking you to click on anything on my app, but it should be fine, right? It's a new app where users can be given coins and will be converted to cash and given out with PayPal. I'm in no way showing the users the ads that pay you money. Thanks. Yeah, Avinash, I don't understand the revenue stream though, because in order for you to pay out money, you need to be able to make money. So that's the bit that I'm kind of curious about. Josh Adams says, I paid a developer $3,000 to make a React Native app. He burned through his hours and is now working painfully slow. And his communication is terrible. What do you think I should do? So Josh, did you pay through Upwork? Because maybe you can get out of that because it goes into escrow. And I think you just need to, yeah, if he's just burning through the hours, I think, it's difficult. I know what that's like. If you got somebody who's just not motivated to finish something and they're just, you have to think about, define what needs to be done. Like sometimes a developer can feel like they can't see the wood for the trees, the forest for the trees rather. I can't see the forest for the trees. But if you can say, okay, this is specifically, these are the tasks that we need to be complete. When do you think you can get these done? When can we get these things done? Because we need we just need them done. And put together a plan if you can, and see if that works any better. It's difficult to say because you got somebody whose motivation is low. And another thing you can do, and this is more money, is whether or not you could pay a bonus if they get finished by a certain time, bug free. But if you paid all in advance, kind of it might remove some of your leverage there. Rodrigo says, I'm testing Pinterest ads lately, but not for apps. What are you testing them on, Rodrigo? But they have an option for them that seems to be cheap, but don't quote me on that. Cool. Extrude Studio says, I set up an account on Huawei, but I don't know much about how to get the copyright certificate and stuff they require to upload my APK. Any advice? I haven't uploaded an APK yet. Good question. Let's see. God, I don't know. Yeah, Extrude Studio. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wish I knew that. You can do a thumbs down. I'm sorry. That was just like a total blank. I didn't even know you had to do a copyright thing because I haven't uploaded anything yet. My big thing about doing the Huawei is to convert my in-app purchases to Huawei. I'm gonna have to do a bit of research on how does that part work, and hopefully it's something that's easy to migrate over. Maybe probably a new SDK, I guess. And then also ads. So would AdMob ads be supported in Huawei? I think it'll be one I want to do. Let's see. Walk the Talk says, you focus more on cross-platform like React Native and Flutter than native app development. Yeah, I do. I like cross-platform. The whole reason I have a Mac, I was talking to somebody last week, and they said they thought I was a Mac fanboy. I said, I'm not a Mac fanboy. I just want to put stuff out on iOS. I've gotten used to the Mac over the years, but it's not something that I'm not one of these guys who are like, oh man, Windows sucks, man. The Mac is just, oh, you know what? Oh my God, I just love the Mac. Right? I'm just like, dude, it's okay, it's fine. But the whole reason I have the Mac is so that I could do iOS apps too and put stuff out there. but I prefer cross-platform. I don't see any reason to write code more than once, because especially with, it depends. There's always one that I'm more interested in. Like initially, Android was what I wanted to do. I wanted to just do Android, and I was almost like a lot of my clients are like, I'm not worried about iOS. And then my developers said, well, we can do an iOS version too. And I thought, and they gave me a good deal on it. I thought, oh yeah, okay. And then I found that the iOS was actually doing pretty well, and then so we started doing more towards iOS. And there's been times where I released apps specifically for iOS, like a desktop, like using Corona, doing an app in iPhone, iPad, which is the same code base, and then doing another one for desktop, so through the Mac App Store. And so that was something that was entirely like, it was iOS first, and I thought, well, while I'm at it, I might as well put it to Android, right? And other times I'm like, I want to do this on Android. While I'm at it, might as well put it to iOS. But it's like, if I had to just do one, I'd have to think. Like, I've never done Windows Phone. Every time I come back to do Windows Phone, I think, is it even worth the time? Like, I don't even want to buy a Windows Phone in order to do it. I know nobody's doing Windows Phone now, but this is like a couple years ago. Let's see. Walk the Talk said, you told earlier you have some news about your spy. We're waiting. I'm going to do a video about it tomorrow, but it's basically they're not going to I have to release another version of it. All right, I'll tell you. But I'm going to do a video about it tomorrow, so try act surprised. It's no, you know what? So there's a actually a Google released in February as part of Android 10. They released sound amplifier. So let me just show you guys this, because if I get angry here, so I'm not angry. I'm more like, just like, this is really weird. So I think it's called this. So earlier this year, so my app was removed, right? And they said it was, and earlier this year they released sound amplifier. By the way, we got loads of sound amplifiers, but Google released one called sound amplifier. It was part of the Android 10, and it looks so much like my app. Like, there it is, the middle bit where you press to stop and start, the little circles around the outside, although theirs is cooler, and then the equalizer, right? And I thought, dude, when I came out with one in 2012 when I released the app, there were none of these. And then earlier this year, last month, they removed mine. And I think, hang on a second, wait a second. They removed mine for malicious behavior, and then they released one that does exact same thing, right? So I'm gonna do a video about that. I don't know. It's one of these things where I'm like, is that just a coincidence? Is that just like, I doubt that they're looking at. Google doesn't know who I am, so it's but it's just a weird thing. And so I was gonna do a video about that, and I thought, and I've been like hemming and hawing about it all week, thinking, do I even want to bring this up? Because it's just kind of a, like, if we do a look at this. So Ear Spy, when I released it, it did really well, but it was kind of unique. And first of all, this is part of Android 10. So you look at the news for Android 10, it says we have the sound amplifier app, and I thought. So even if I do release Ear Assist, there's a lot of competition now, including Google and the platform. So if we do, let's do Ear Spy. We can see all the copycats who I will be competing with when I release my app again under a different package name, right? Including this guy here. So it's like the same color scheme, same whatever, same stuff. We do Ear Agent. Same name a lot of the time. Ear Assist. So Ear Assist is the one I removed. So this is kind of, I was going to do a video about this just because the fact that they removed my app for malicious behavior and they released the same thing, it just kind of gave me so, and I don't know if I'm being irrational and thinking about that. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. So I might do a video about that later this week, or I might just let it go, right? If it's going to be part of the platform anyway, it'd be like if I had a really cool note-taking app, right? And then they brought like a similar thing as part of the platform. Let's see. Ujawal Solanki says, How do you focus and avoid distraction? Have you ever had times when you spend already a week and you've achieved nothing? Yeah, all the time. Yep, I sure have. Sometimes, like, I have to put it in my calendar. I have to put something in my calendar in order to make sure that I work on it. Otherwise, it'll get pushed aside, right? And I'm also like, I lie to myself sometimes. And say, you know what? I'll come back in tonight after dinner. I'll work on it, and then I'll be like, oh, I don't want to go back and work on this thing. So sometimes I'll be like, at the end of the week, I'll work on a weekend on something, just for that. But most of the time, like, it's the hard bit is just getting started. It's like opening up the code window and starting to code. It's like going for a run, right? The hard bit is not going for a run. The hard bit is not the second mile. The hard bit is putting your clothes on and going outside and starting down that first block, right? Once you do that, you know that you're committed to the run, right? It's unlikely you're going to stop and walk back home unless you're like really out of shape. But like, it's just getting that. So sometimes with the code, it's just that, like, you have a problem, you need to do it. It's opening up the code window and just launching the simulator and just starting it. That's the bit you should focus on, right? If you could just do that, then everything will start. Like, then you get annoyed when somebody disturbs you, right? Because you're like, you're into it, right? You get into that flow state. But the hard bit is not doing it. The hard bit is starting it. So like, a lot of times I'll just trick myself with, okay, I'm going to work on this for 10 minutes, and and if I don't get anywhere, I'm going to stop, right? Because I know that after 10 minutes, I'm not going to stop. It'll be like just one more thing. Have you ever done that where you're like, you realize you have to go to the bathroom, but you just got to check one thing, and next thing you know, it's 2 hours later, you're like, oh, just one more thing, and you have like a bladder infection, and like, you realize you've gone like 6 hours without going to the bathroom, and you knew you had to go desperately, and then you go to the bathroom and somebody's in there. We had a fire alarm today, and I'm dying for the toilet. Like, I was working on this client project, and I was coding. I was in the flow, right? Oh, flow, urine, whatever. But I was in the flow of the code, right? And then the fire alarm went off, and I go stand outside with like in the assembly point, and I was dying for the toilet. Yeah, like, if I knew there was gonna be a fire alarm, I wouldn't have bothered. I mean, I would have gone before. But anyway. I don't know if other developers out there have those same problems with bathroom breaks, but sometimes I do. It's like being a little kid. It's like being a little kid, so involved with what you're doing, you're like, you just rather just be uncomfortable rather than stop doing what you're doing. Matthew Creek says, I am thinking about making a news reading app, but the API costs nearly $500. If it used more than 500 times a day, is that reasonable? I don't think it. Well, Matthew, what I would do, and I don't know if this violates their terms of conditions, is get a server set up and cache that data, right? Cache it locally, so you have something run once a minute, or like, say, not once a minute, once an hour. Well, once an hour is only 25, so you could do twice an hour. So see how many times you can call that in a day with staying within the limits, and then have everybody hit your database. So you would have your database, your API, which your API will call their API, cache the data locally in a database or whatever, and then and then your app would only contact the API and receive from there. So at least you could do it. But $500 a month sounds like, to me, it sounds like a lot. But it depends on whether or not you get the downloads. If you get the downloads, you're making more than 500. It's a no-brainer, obviously. The problem would be like if you got like 10 users, or if you got like, let's say you got 100 users, and you're making $5 a day from it, and you're paying 500 out. Then you have to make the decision of, do I keep taking the loss each month, or do I just stop it? And those loyal users that I have, I'm gonna have to tell them, sorry, man, you just can't keep going. Rodrigo says, yes, AdMob Facebook ads are no problem in Huawei App Store. Oh, cool. Josh Adams says, I gave him okay, so this is about your developer, Josh. I gave him a list of what needs to be done, and he ignores it. He wanted to end the contract on Time Boost, his Upwork rating, despite the project not being done, and promised to finish soon. Didn't happen. Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty bad. I think don't let them go off. Don't let him go off Time Boost. Right? He's got to finish it. if it's through Upwork, the payment should have gone into escrow. So if you were able to get your money back, Josh, you could do that and leave a bad review, right? He may have had the same problem with other people, or maybe he has legitimate, like, it's difficult to know with developers. Like, it's like I've had developers where I've just completely lost. How can you be so lazy? How can you be so, like, just he's doing nothing, and it turns out he's really struggling on something, or he's had family problems or whatever. It's not my fault. Nothing I can do about that. But it's still, there could be something else there, or it could just be he's just taking on more than he can handle. I'm not making excuses for him. It sounds like you need to get out of it, Josh, if you can. And that's what Upwork is for. That's the whole reason the payments go into escrow. I think it does, doesn't it? I mean, last time I did it, they went into escrow, and then I would release the funds at the end of the project. But don't do that. Don't release the funds. Avinash Sharma says it's complicated to reveal revenue stream. Will the app? We'll make an app and show it here in a couple of days. Cool. Let's see. Avinash says, smash the like button, guys. Yeah, smash the like button. Fire. Woo, live. I'm on mobile right now. Class starts soon, but I'll stay for a bit. Class. So, Fire, don't get in trouble. Don't get your phone confiscated. He's probably gone by now. Okay. Extrude Studio says, reason for rejection. Dear developer, your game cannot be approved for the following reasons. One, your game that released in Chinese mainland needs to provide the following. Oh, so Chinese mainland, a developer computer software, is that for any game? Can you specify to not be released in Chinese mainland? Because you got the same thing. You got the same thing on iOS where it has all that stuff that you need. But can you so Extrude Studio, can you release it out? Is there a way to, like in Google Play? Like I said, I don't know about Huawei. Is there a way to go through and just like unselect China mainland? Let's see. Fire, flow of the code T-shirt when? Oh, that would be cool. I'm in code flow, and they just show like a urine stream. Is that bad taste? Ujawal Solanki says, yeah, bathroom break is just one of the ways to procrastinate because it's just another excuse for not opening the code editor and starting an emulator. I guess everyone faces this working as a solopreneur. You know what? However, the amount of times that the answer to your code problem comes to you when you're going to the bathroom, it's almost like the urine was holding you back. Like you're just like, you're standing there and oh yeah, I could have tried this. Oh, but that's it. Like you're thinking, you go to the bathroom, like you're passing people, you don't even talk to them because you're like your head's in the you're thinking about the code. Why didn't it work? It was working yesterday. It was working like today at 3, and now all of a sudden it's not working. What could it be? And you realizing you're hacking. This week I did this. Push notifications weren't working on an application, and I was going through, and I was so in my head that in the end I started changing code. I started hacking things away, right? And finally I had to stop. Like it was like taking a break where I realized, hang on a second, code doesn't change on its own, right? Something happened in the environment that stopped these push notifications from working. So what could it have been? And then I had to go back through and roll back all my changes that I'd made because I was just hacking away. And that's not a good state to be in. Like if you're just too close to the problem, you're hacking away at stuff, and you just need to, always check in to Git before you start that kind of stuff. Avinash says, we do love, where do love recording your videos? Inside the office or outside sitting in nature? I try to alternate. Doing outside can be more fun, but it's difficult when people keep pulling up and you got cars honking and stuff like that. It's kind of nice just for a change of scenery. But and I always feel like I'm not doing enough if I do it in the office. I feel like it's kind of lame if I do it in the office all the time. Matthew Creek says, where can I find cheap or free news API? There's one. Where am I? God, we're using one. There's like a plug. We have a new site called thetechsensei.com, and that uses a WordPress plugin with a free news API. I can't remember what it's called. Let me have a look. WordPress. News generator on Code Canyon, Newsomatic. Here we go. So Matthew, I use this. We have like this plugin on one of our sites called Newsomatic, and it uses, what is the API that it uses? News API database. What was it? News API, a JSON API for live news and blog feeds. Get API key, which I think is free. Oh no, this might be the one you've been looking at. For non-commercial projects, including open source. Maybe this might be the one you've been looking at. Maybe we should be using it. So let's see. So we're gonna finish up this live stream because we're getting late. I'm getting hungry. It's pizza night. Let's see. I'm gonna let's see. Walk the Talk says, anyone here spend more time on monitoring / refreshing AdSense revenue rather than developing more apps? Yeah, we've all done that. Spend too much time looking at the stuff, just checking stuff out. Rodrigo says, I'm gonna resubmit it and exclude China until I know how to deal with that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Rifat, talk to you on Sunday. Fire says, I'm not in class now. My chem lecture at university is in a bit. We'll enjoy. Let's see. And that's it. Newsapi.org. Thanks for the insight, Eric. And my app, Melt Valuator, has a little over 1,000 downloads and makes about 125. Is that normal? Depends on how you're monetizing. If it's in-app purchases or through ads, but it sounds pretty good to me. 1,000 downloads. Cool. So that's it, everybody. Thanks so much for watching the live stream this week. I know I'm rambling on. You know, I'm sure I sound like a babbling idiot at times. Thank you very much for smashing that like button. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I may or may not get a video done for tomorrow or this weekend, but I'm going to try. And anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys next week on the live stream or during the week on the normal Overpass Insights video. Talk to you guys later. Bye.